So joining me today is Paul Carson. He is 28 years old and he does stand-up comedy. He's been doing stand-up for about 10 years now. Paul, if you could shed light a little bit on that for us.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Hi. Thanks for having me, by the way.
of
I
course.
appreciate it. Yeah, it started when I was like 18, in Northeast Philly in a room off of a bar, off of a Motel 6, and it's been uphill from there. No, uh, but it's been cool. It's nice now. Like starting out, my parents had to come to every single open mic and show or whatever because I still had my learner's permit and wasn't allowed to drive alone after 11 p.m. Um, so now I am, and things have taken off.
That must have been entertaining telling certain jokes to your parents while they're in the crowd.
Yeah, like they had never heard me even like say a curse word before, so that was definitely a baptism by fire for them.
I'm
I
sure
mean,
they were blown away by that.
yeah, I mean, I didn't say anything like super egregious. It was just like just a new angle that they hadn't seen. It was mostly like just me telling bad stand-up comedy that was their baptism by fire. It was a baptism by shit as well as fire. It was a baptism by flaming shit, I think. The analogy's falling apart, but I appreciate their support.
Of course. It's always great when your parents support what you do, right?
Yeah, it's been great, and now they come to shows and it's fun and they enjoy it and everything. So it's cool for them to go from they kind of like paid their dues with open mics and stuff too, and now they get to come to shows and stuff. Like they were actually at the show that we met at.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they get to come to that sort of thing, and I appreciate having them there. So it's fun.
That's great. That's great. It's nice to have a backbone of support with you in what you love to do. It makes it 10 times easier when you have like a circle of support. It really does.
100%. Like I've heard some people like they have their story of like, oh yeah, my parents are just not on board with this at all, but I still do it because I love it type of thing. And it does sound so much harder. Like, do you like with your movie making and stuff, do you have like people like is your family all in or your friends all in with that sort of thing?
Yes, yes. They actually just recently told me that they're very proud and very happy that I found something that I was passionate in, and they want to be able to do anything they can to help support it. And just hearing that was so mind-boggling. It's not something that a child, you work your whole life at things, and when you finally hear that, you're like, I made it, you know? I made it. It's something that you're passionate about, and it's something that you love to do. You're gonna hear that support, that feedback back,
Mm-hmm.
you know? That's actually something that a lot of us have been discussing on here is feedback. And it's wonderful to hear that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So Paul, I have a series of questions for you, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Great. So my first question for you, what inspired you to go into stand-up comedy, and what were some of the challenges that you faced when you first started?
Um, I think the thing that kind of got me into it is like throughout like middle school and then into high school, my friend group, I feel like the like social currency was always like get a laugh sort of thing. That was what a lot of people were gunning for. Um, and I'm trying to get better now, but I've never been like a great conversationalist. Always kind of like a little bit awkward, a little bit whatever if I'm just trying to create conversation out of thin air. So I kind of just like would sit back and wait, and then if I had something funny to say, I'd kind of snipe in and then back out, and I'd be like, okay, people liked that. I'm 100% on saying good things in this conversation, which probably isn't a healthy way to be, but it does lead you to become a comic. Um, so that kind of like validation from that, and then I started to realize, oh, I would love to have a situation where I could just curate all of those little snipes into one thing and just showcase like my favorite part of myself. And stand up comedy kind of just became like the most like distilled, condensed version of that. So I think that's what kind of drew me to it. But yeah, and then in terms of challenges, obviously there's a lot that just keep popping up. Like I've I've noticed that you can't get like, it blows me away when I see people who grow too much of an ego in comedy, because I'm like, how? There's so many things just like constantly like humbling you all the time, like bombing being the main one, but then just like you find yourself in situations where like sometimes the audience doesn't even know there's a show going on, and then you go up and they're paying attention to you because they think you need this and you want this, and you're performing for them because you don't want to let them down, and then you realize like halfway through like, oh, none of us want this, we're both just doing this to be nice sort of to each other, but everybody hates this. They want to be, they're turning 90 degrees from a plate of spaghetti to smile at me politely. And I also would like to not be doing the full 20 minutes right now because I want them to enjoy their spaghetti. So there's a lot of like just humbling experiences like that, and a lot of failure, but then a lot, it's also like very creatively fulfilling. But yeah, there's certainly a lot of setbacks and challenges and things that emotionally could drub you down if you didn't stay level. So I think I've found the way to maintain and not get burnt out and not quit is to when something goes well, not get too high on it or too excited, and when something goes poorly, give myself a little bit of grace and not be too hard on myself and just kind of stay level.
That's good. That's a great way to be, and I think you have to remember that the ego, right, is you wanting to succeed for you, but you
Mm-hmm.
have to remember that you're not in this kind of work for you. You're in this kind of work for other people, like you were saying. You want to make other people laugh. You want to make them feel something. You want to make them enjoy the moment, you
Absolutely.
know? And I think when people forget that, I think they lose themselves a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I think at a young age, I think it's great that you remember that. And I think it's good that you have that level head. That's really good.
And I think that like all like everybody creating stuff, I feel like it's all that's to some extent inherently social. Like that, if you're just creating in a void for yourself, that's great. And if you never share it with anyone, that's still your art, whatever. And if you enjoy it, but if you're putting it out, it does need to connect in a certain way. And I feel like too much ego or something would get in the way of that.
Absolutely. I found myself in times where, I thought I was doing so good. I thought I was doing absolutely like incredible. And it turned out that I wasn't. And I had to reinvent what I was doing. I had to reinvent how I was communicating with not just people, but myself as well.
Mm-hmm.
You have to communicate with yourself too, with what you want to put out into the world.
Right. How did you change your view on that? Like where did it start and where did it end?
So, quite truthfully, my view changed during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
I was not able to work because of pre-existing conditions.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't see my girlfriend. I couldn't see my family. Up close. We had to be in separate rooms to talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't do change like that very well. And I realized, what am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
How am I able to get through this with nothing to do? I couldn't. There was no way. I had to sit down and I had to think about what my next movement was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And it was to start small with like TikTok. I started small with videos on TikTok. I started small with edits on there, and it just grew. It
Mm-hmm.
grew into the company that it is now, Mahoney Cinema Creations, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
It built up from a client to another client to another client, and now I want to talk to people. I want to get their stories and see where makes them click. I want to know what they have to tell so that I can learn from them.
Uh-huh. That's
So
really cool. That seems like a very mature way to go about it. And question, like I know with like stand up, like the connection, you can like think of an idea during the day and then it's already connecting that night. So I feel like my patience is a lot slower, or is a lot like shorter with that. With like film and like more long form stuff, there's that, I imagine there's that delayed gratification. Like do you I feel like that takes a certain different type of stamina. Do you find yourself being like, okay, I will put this out eventually, but right now I need to focus on all these details and not rush it and make it what I want it to be?
Let me put it to you like this. I am a perfectionist in my own work, and I
Hmm.
do not want to even show anybody anything unless I get it 100% right.
Gotcha. Okay.
And when I have a few projects that don't go the way that I plan it out to, it's a burnout. It's an honest burnout. Like it's not even the work for me that is the burnout part. It's a disappointment in myself for
Hmm.
not knowing what I should have done differently. And it's a disappointment and letdown of what others could have seen or what others could have been
Uh,
happy with. So yeah, I would say it's delayed gratification and delayed it's a delayed process of being able to be happy with your work.
hmm.
You know, you start from scratch with video editing, as I'm sure you do with comedy, right?
Hmm.
So you're writing a joke, I'm writing a script.
Right.
And you know that when a joke doesn't go right, you don't want to share it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's the same concept for a script. If the script isn't working, I just toss it to the side and I just never do anything with it.
Hmm.
I had a script for 10 years, right? And it took 10 years for people to actually be interested in it. 10 years.
Hmm.
So it's definitely a delayed gratification. I
Right.
would definitely agree with you on that. So
Now, you have way more experience with the video side than me. I've just dabbled in like editing sketches and stuff, and I know at the beginning, like once I get all my footage in and I start arranging it every single time, I'm like, "Oh, this is not funny at all. This is garbage." And then eventually you kind of mold it and it turns into something good. But is there like that oh shit moment with something much bigger like a movie? Like, do you feel that?
absolutely, absolutely. There's been a couple snags in terms of editing and even just exporting stuff that we're just like, what are we doing wrong? What is the matter? We'll spend like you won't think it, right? Like you think, oh, this one special effect or this one scene is, as I'm sure you realize with your sort of editing that you've been doing, you'll see that the smallest detail takes the longest time to perfect.
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Down to the split second.
Absolutely, and you can't rush that stuff. You
Hmm.
can't rush it. If you're rushing it, it's not gonna be good. It's gonna be choppy. It's gonna be like you said, the oh shit, what did I do moment.
Hmm.
It's gonna come out like one of those scripts that you just push to the side.
Uh-huh.
You know.
Absolutely.
So, which actually, well, that actually kind of leads me to my next question for you.
Hmm.
Let me ask you this. What advice would you give to anyone looking to get into the industry? Um, Given that you were just saying how there's so many errors, so many snags, so many issues, what would you say to somebody who's looking to get into the industry of entertainment or comedy?
I'd say maybe like two things. The first would be like, don't feel like anybody owes you anything. And I feel like you can avoid being bitter that way. Because
Okay.
like, I feel like if you go in with the expectation of like, oh, why am I not on this show? Why am I not getting this? This person's getting that. It can kind of sour the fun part, which is actually like hanging out with your friends, being excited when you think of a good joke, sort of thing. And just that comparison, I think, kind of robs it from you a little bit. So just go in. If some stuff comes your way, then it's all positive, as opposed to like, finally I got this. And then another thing I guess would be that the motivation has to come from you, because like I've seen some people who are like, oh, let's go to these shows together, these mics together, we'll write together for the sake of holding each other accountable, which isn't going to work. Like you're going out like most nights of the week to do open mics, and then there's shows on the weekends. And if you're not self motivated, it's not going to work. Like it's hard enough for somebody to be motivated for one person to do it. So to ask that person to motivate two people, it's just not sustainable. So I think in that regard, just managing expectations to not burn yourself out is key, and it allows you to focus on the best part, which is enjoying it. I feel like, and just being excited because you came up with a new joke and it worked, and then you got to tweak it and then it worked even better. Like that's the exciting part for me, at least. And I think not having expectations that anybody owes me anything has kept me from being bitter and kept me in this as long as it has.
I think that is a wonderful way to look at it. You can't, if you're thinking of they owe me this, they owe me that, right? You're not learning from your perspective. You're learning from their perspective. You know what I mean? Like you're seeing what they owe you. You're seeing what they should feel, what they should think, what they should comprehend from your set or from a movie or from something else.
Mm-hmm.
There's been several small videos that I've done, some dumb videos that don't mean anything, that just get the most amount of like interaction and
Uh-huh.
views and likes and all that stuff. And I'm sitting there like, I'll put something in like really long and edited and controversial, and nothing goes without. What happened?
It's the
But
same way with jokes. If it's the little throwaway that kills, and it's the thing that you're like, this is my magnum opus, that people are like, oh, cool, next. Like, so it's the same with movies.
absolutely, it's the same. It's the exact same thing. You see so many people like just the smallest, dumbest thing sometimes, and then you put it all into something and nothing happens with it. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's okay. I think
Yeah.
that's okay. It's a learning curve. It's learning what your audience likes and what you enjoy putting out there, like you were saying earlier.
Mm-hmm.
You may or may not put a video out there. You may or may not put a joke out there or a piece of art out there. But if you still enjoy it, that's good. That's wonderful.
Uh-huh.
That's great. I feel people are very finicky in what they like and what they don't like.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell a joke, like a very dark humor joke, and people look at you like, "What are you doing?" You
Mm-hmm.
know, and then the next guy comes up and says the same thing, and they're laughing at it.
Right.
As long as you enjoy it, that's what matters. That's what truly matters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar with the stand-up comic Matt Rife.
Yeah.
He will say some of the dirtiest jokes, some of the nastiest stuff, and the audience will not like it one day, and then they'll love it the next day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's a good example of that, and
Absolutely.
he learns from his mistakes, and he grows with it. And I think that's what any of us should do with it. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah, because it could
so,
be any number of factors or the reason why it doesn't work. Maybe that crowd wasn't feeling it. Maybe you didn't deliver it in a charming enough way, sort of thing. Like sometimes it's as simple as like smiling while you say something that unlocks everything, which is it's encouraging because it could be that simple, but it's also infuriating because it is that simple sometimes. Where you're like, that's that's all it took was just at the end, and that and now you don't hate me, you love it.
Yeah, it's so interesting how even just the simplest change in the tone of your voice and the tone of your, like you said, your smile can change everything. It really
Right.
is. Um, so I actually remember a joke that you told, something about Harry Potter.
Oh yeah.
I know quite a few people that would love to hear it. Would you mind reciting that one
Oh
for us?
yeah, sure. I it's about like I lived in Germany when I was little, and I'm starting to forget the language. So in order to practice, my New Year's resolution last year was to start reading Harry Potter in German. And like it's okay, but it's more believable in English. Because a big theme of those books is that there's this evil wizard named Lord Voldemort, and he's the worst guy ever. But when you read it in German, you're like, I can think of a worse guy. Got our own Dark Lord.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of comparisons, especially when you read that in German.
Yeah, it's weird. Like there's, I actually have it right here with me. I started last year and now I'm on the seventh. Everybody loves the classic Harry Potter und die Heiligtümer des Todes. Yeah, that's an old classic that all the kids love.
We actually see the cover of that. I'm curious if there's anything different.
Oh yeah, the animations do look a little bit different. I
Oh
don't know.
wow,
Like the
that's
drawings, I don't know if they hired a different artist, but they all look a little bit more spindly and weird. I don't know why.
he kind of looks like he hasn't been eating very much in the last couple of days.
Right. Got a little yeah, he absolutely like Voldemort looks he looks rough. He's I don't know if you can see like his long legs and stuff.
Oh God,
He looks more spider like than snake like. And he's wearing like acrobats tights or something. So
that's amazing.
he's menacing in a different way now.
Like he wasn't menacing before, right?
Right. Just a murderous snake man, but now he's in tights and it's somehow way worse.
Sorry. I think Harry Potter is such a wonderful. We were talking about scripts and books before, right? Like
Hmm.
J.K. Rowling started writing those series while she was on a train, like almost broke and homeless and all that stuff.
Right.
And I think she went through like quite a few publishers before she actually got published.
Hmm.
And then you would never have thought that a book like that, a book about a magical wizard whose parents were murdered by a dark lord, you never would have thought that that would have taken off the way that it
Right.
did. But I remember being at almost every midnight launch for each book as a kid,
Hmm.
right? I remember going to Barnes& and Noble with my mom and sister, and we would read the books in the car. We would read the books at home. We would read them wherever we could read them just to pass the time.
Hmm.
And I distinctly remember my dad would sometimes listen to it, right? And he skipped, I think it was maybe the sixth book,
Uh-huh.
right? So he skips the sixth book. He doesn't hear about the super dark ending that happened
Hmm.
with
Oh.
Dumbledore.
So that's a total surprise to him.
So it was like the third or fourth chapter we're in, and my mom reads a part about how Dumbledore died. We're in the car, right? And my
Hmm.
dad just grips the steering wheel and he goes, "Dumbledore died?"
Oh no. It's like, oh, bud, I'm sorry.
It was honestly one of the best, like, out of context moments that happened, and you're like, "What?"
He was the one he always feared.
And you never know what to expect with books and movies and scripts and jokes like that. You never know if it's gonna take off and turn into a trend.
Right.
That's why I believe that there are magic in movies. There's magic in stand-up, there's magic in anything like this, in art,
Hmm.
it makes you feel,
Right. Can
you
you
know?
imagine? I can only imagine the pressure that J.K. Rowling felt. Like the book blew up before she was done writing the series. But so can you imagine the pressure of writing these last couple books when it's already like world famous and with all that anticipation and the movies have started? Like that's got to be like crazy pressure to make it good. I mean, she nailed it, but like, can you imagine?
Oh my god, I could, I'm under pressure just thinking of the next edit. I can't imagine
Right.
the next film or the next book, like, especially if you're not even done with something. So,
Absolutely.
and thinking about authors like that, thinking about people like that in turn, I don't blame them for taking their time. You want to perfect it. You want to make sure it's good. You
Hmm.
don't want to let your audience down.
Right. Like I never watched Game of Thrones, but I know that the TV series has like surpassed the books.
Yeah.
And I think he just was like, yeah, I'm not going to put out garbage. So I'm going to take my time and I'm not going to be pressured by this like phenomenon of a TV show. So I wonder if he ever finishes them or if he diverts from the story they told in the show. I wonder how that works out.
Yeah, I've been curious about that too. I mean, how do you finish something like that?
Hmm.
How do you see it on TV and you're like, this isn't my work. This is
Right.
this is fan service work. This is
Uh-huh.
what's it called? Fan fiction,
Right.
you know.
Yep.
So which kind of brings a point of things like The Walking Dead, where they have all of this like source material that they could ever have, and then they veer off completely
Hmm.
just to do their own spin, just to do their own thing, and it doesn't work.
Right.
But even in Game of Thrones, even though Game of Thrones was a failed ending, the series as a whole was wonderful.
Hmm.
Visually, cinematically, script-wise, it was wonderful. It was
Uh-huh.
just a shame with the ending.
That's what everybody says. Like I said, oh, I should watch it, and people are like, yeah, watch everything but the last season, and you'll be fine.
I would say you could watch you could watch the big battle and then end it at that point.
Okay.
So just end it before the series ends. Just
It's
no,
universally hated. It's crazy.
it, it it is. It was such a wonderful love show, and now it's just hated by millions.
The hatred is a phenomenon in and of itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so I wanted to ask you, this is actually kind of a good starting point for this next question. If you could go back and give yourself advice, when you were starting, what would you say to your younger self?
Um, tell less puns, probably. I started out just doing like wordplay and puns, and I look back at some of those videos of me performing, and I'm like, oh, how did you ever think this was funny? And now I've started to like now it's like a bit, almost like an essay, where it's like, okay, I pick a topic, pick an opinion, argue it, veer off, go whatever. But back then it was just not even funny. It was just wordplay. It was just, oh, find a word that has two meanings, find a context in which both work, and people will appreciate how witty that is on stage when a 18-year-old having voice cracks delivers it to them like poetry. It's so the advice would be don't tell puns. People don't like them. They're
I'm a pun guy myself, actually. I'll get some good reactions, and then my group of friends will just look at me like, "What did you say that for? Why would you do that?" So I understand the pressure with
Mhm,
that one there. Um, I think puns are good if you can hit them in the right moment.
mhm.
But I think I would agree with you. You don't want to make that your whole bit. You don't want to
Right.
be known as one type of one trick pony.
Absolutely.
You want to
And
hone.
you're right. There is a place for them. It's just like not as the foundation of a joke. It can be kind of like at the end, if you're on like a tangent, you can throw in some wordplay and people are like, oh, that's clever. And then you get off of it before people realize that you're just doing puns. But yeah, there definitely is a place, and if they're well seated into the joke, it can work. But if they're the whole thing for 5 straight minutes, 25 straight jokes, it's tough.